Could I ask the Minister what this disaster means for New Zealand's clean green image, particularly since the eyes of the world are on New Zealand at the moment for the World Cup?
Well, obviously, it would be ideal if it hadn't occurred in so many levels, not least of all the one that you mentioned. Look, I think the reality is that it underlines the importance that New Zealanders feel about the environment that we live in and the way we're reacting about something that has occurred like this. I mean, obviously, this wasn't caused by any New Zealand person going about their daily business. This was an incident that was occurred when a ship was run onto a reef. So I don't think it reflects as such on New Zealanders' view or the world's view of New Zealand in terms of the way we like to live in our environment. And I think they'll also understand that we are very, very focused on cleaning it up.
Yeah, but the brand of New Zealand is so linked with 100% pure. Surely that brand is being damaged by this disaster.
Look, I don't believe so. That's just my view of it. And I think the reality is this is something that has happened, that happens in the world from time to time. We're a maritime nation. We have had shipwrecks before, and other countries have them as well. We will clean it up, and we'll make sure that it's put back the way it started. And the way in which we do that, and the fact that we do that, will, if anything, I think over time underline the way we see our environment.
Sorry, just one more. Do you feel that the government and everyone is working as fast as they can and have as much resources as possible have gone into this now? Are you working at full capacity?
Absolutely. Right from day one, we had the operation on the ground, the first release in terms of the activation of the response teams and all that sort of thing was at 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning. I spoke with the director later in the day, and the first salvage teams, first salvors were on the vessel at 6 o'clock that night, and it was followed with a continuing ramp up through the next couple of days. And of course, we had the divers in the sea on Thursday doing the exercise. For a number of people, it couldn't happen fast enough. I think we all believe it couldn't happen fast enough because we all knew the weather was about to change. But the reality was the state of the ship, the complexity of it. Some of you will recall last weekend Jonathan Walker talking on Saturday on the second press conference that I was involved in and detailing the complexity of what they were dealing with. And that's the challenge that was laid in front of them. They couldn't use the pipes on the ship. There was a lot of things that they couldn't use, and they just had to develop a jury rig system to deal with it, and that's what they did. So, I'm very confident. I have asked a couple of constant questions on the way through. One is there any more resource we can supply you? Just tell us what it is and we'll get it for you. And secondly, to make sure that there were no roadblocks in the way of doing the job, and I'm confident that's been the case.
Sorry, excuse me, the next question is up there, the woman in red.
Sorry, yeah, what's the best case scenario we come from?
Sorry, best or worst?
Best.
Do you want to answer that one, Bruce? What's your best case scenario, or would you be cautious to lay it out?
Of course, the best is we get everything we can off. I think that's the simple one. What's the reality? It's incredibly dangerous. It's incredibly complex. And we have to make sure that it's a safe environment for the people to work and to be able to get this off. The last thing we want to do is to injure someone or kill someone. So, my best would be everything off. Reality, I don't know.
Any time frames for these cases?
Once again, I don't know. They have to do this in a methodical way. You can't just go rushing in. The team is coming off now. At 6 minutes past, it came off the vessel. They're coming straight back here to start doing the detailed plan for the next phase. They're going to have to work outside the vessel. They can't work safely in it where they're under overhanging containers. It's just going to be an incredibly tough job for them.
Can you
talk three more questions? No, one here.
Is there any idea at all how long the beach will be closed, and is there any chance that it'll be open for the summer? I mean, at all?
Can I just answer that one in a general sense? Because the reality is that nobody knows at this point. There is just way too many variables. And you've just heard Bruce on the subject of the vessel. There's also variables in terms of the weather conditions, in terms of if the vessel is unable to be completely, the oil is unable to be completely taken off at this time. We simply don't know. There are a range of scenarios that change every day. Yesterday we probably didn't think we'd be at this point today, and the reality is tomorrow will bring its own new set of challenges for these people.
Can someone, I'm sorry if this has been addressed before, but skimmer barges and flailer barges, I understand Maritime New Zealand has 2 skimmer barges. What does it do and why would it be used?
Again, this is part of the suite of tools we use for cleaning up oil spills. Skimmer barges are pretty prone to weather conditions and reasonably flat weather conditions. Skimmer barges at the moment have been used. They've been used in Tauranga Harbour reasonably effectively, and as of this morning, they were redirected into cleaning up some of the flotsam that's coming in through the harbour. So Maritime New Zealand actually has 3 skimmer barges. 2 skimmer barges are here, and 2 skimmer barges, if the weather abates and we get less swell conditions, we'll be putting them out into a near-shore response to collect some of the oil that's coming in on the beach.
It's a question for Bruce. Bruce, just 2 questions actually. To what degree is the vessel leaning, and what is the weather outlook for you guys?
The vessel's currently listing at about 20 degrees. You'll remember that one of the photographs showed that the top side was just in the water. It seems like the stern is still buoyant, so the stern is still floating while the forward section of the vessel is pinned. So at low tide, the vessel is sitting on the reef. At high tide, it's still floating.
And the weather outlook?
The weather outlook, we've got a narrow window. Forecasts have been, every time we've set a forecast, it's been different. So we're taking every day as it comes. We're actually planning that we're ready to go regardless of what the weather is. We'll sit with choppers ticking over whatever that needs to happen. The crews will be sitting there, have everything prepared to go as soon as they humanly can. These salvage crews are just dying to get back onto this vessel to get the oil off as soon as they can. So the weather forecast, as soon as they can, get a window back on.